When integrating diversity inclusion organization, as we stated, it's hard, it's messy. You want to bring in the different perspectives and experience of decision makers, recognizing that you have power and you should share that power. I personally believe majority of society members have power. I won't say all, because there's some that do not have power at all due to their upbringing and their lifestyle and what they've had access to. But I would argue everyone in this room has power in some form or fashion. You are literally defining what's next for us in the industry. So, in using that power, making sure that, we are being representative of everyone and that you're sharing that power with others. Diversity of thought and experience is very important at the table. Also, outside perspectives, you have task force, use them, but then also, it doesn't have to just be task force members, because sometimes you have the same people that's sitting on the task force. We're not perfect, so, I've said it a few times. My biggest pet peeve with diversity work is it's defined by color. Most of the time when you see a logo with diversity, it's a whole bunch of rainbow colors together. It's the worst thing ever. And on top of that, you'll see an ad and they'll say, we're about diversity, and you only have people of color in the ad. Where's the white people? I ask it all the time because, when we do that, we're continually to set up these silos, whereas us versus them when we're supposed to be working together. So, just making sure that outside perspectives are brought into the room, whether it's focus group, whether it's these task force members, whether it's just that regular member and that non-member, and figuring out why they're not a member, or why they left, or why they don't know what AIGA is in the first place. Figuring that out. And then executive buy-in and leadership at the top is so important, because when you have a leader at the top that understands diversity inclusion, that's when you're able to get things done. It's one thing to have it at the bottom level and saying this is so important, but then everything keeps hitting a wall or a glass ceiling because the person at the top doesn't feel that it's something to be invested in. So making sure that the top individual, Julie, buy-in at the top. And I would even say the national board, because they are the ones, they're the governance of the organization. While you are the staff members, they're the ones that can decide if they want to hire or fire specific positions. They're the ones, Katie got eyes, got butt, are you nervous? You get a look of what? I'm sorry, what? But they're the ones that are thinking about strategy, of course, in partnership with Julie, and hopefully the staff is able to give some input. But these are the individuals that are saying yay or nay to some of these higher level pieces. So if you don't have buy-in at the board level either, then you're going to have a struggle. I can say on the task force, that's a question we get all the time. I know Aiden, the task force is always asking her, who's supporting us on the board? Do we actually have buy-in on the board? Women's leadership has buy-in on the board because the co-founder is literally the president of the board. But diversity inclusion, do we have someone that's representing for us and actually speaking our language and advocating for us at a day-by-day basis? I personally am a fan of co-creation. You have the leadership that are taking the lead on certain things, and you have the chapters that are taking the lead and supporting each other, opposed to everything being just dependent on the bottom level, because the reality is they're volunteers, they burn out. And sometimes when you have people leave, you have brain drain. So you lost what was there before. So, making sure that we continue to work together, thinking about the design future. And then diversity, inclusion, and design. It showed our industry based on their numbers of how many designers are within our industry. And obviously we've had an increase over the last 2 years, but we've actually lost a good amount of designers. We lost over almost 11,000 designers, but we've increased almost 33,000 Hispanic designers. Another example that was brought up as I was doing research and talking about, the role of women and females in design and in design history, and obviously this is a little outdated because I know Meg, the history of graphic design, there's a new edition out now, and I don't think there's been research done looking at the comparison of females being represented in the publication versus males. But in this research that I was reviewing, the first edition, which was in 1983, there was only 15 women designers being recognized, but only 9 were reproduced within that book. And then in the 1992 edition, we had an increase of 31 female designers, photographers, and illustrators, but still in comparison to 100 male designers. And what I find interesting about this is that in this research, it said 100 male designers, but in the female category, we had like 3 identifiers to try to bring our number up. So it made me wonder how many photographers and illustrators were also that was excluded from this 100 number, and showing that, you know, we're not representing our community, and we need to. And it's not just in race, it's not just in gender, but it's in many different forms and facets.